Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to sing at my brother's wedding? Original post. My brother, 33 male, will be getting married in the fall. The two of us are fairly close, more so in the past few years, which is to say that he is not ignorant about past events in my life. Recently, I, 28 male, got invited to dinner by him and his fiancée. The two were very obviously buttering me up to ask me something the whole time before my brother finally told me. So, fiancé and I have been talking, and we'd really love it if you sang our first dance song, just the one song. I know you don't really sing anymore, but I dug up some old videos of you singing, and she loves your voice just as much as I do. This could be your wedding present to us. For background, I used to sing all the time. I formed a band with a bunch of my friends in high school, and we were very minorly successful. We had a YouTube channel with a few hundred subscribers, and there were a handful of people that had their own recordings that were posted to their own pages. In this band was my best friend since second grade, Mason. Unfortunately, when we were 17, Mason took his own life. Additionally, I was the one who found him. The band dissolved almost immediately, and our YouTube channel and all our own videos were taken down. Since then, I have never sung. Singing without Mason felt wrong, so I didn't. Not in the shower, no karaoke sessions, not at church. Never. My brother knew all of this, but I wasn't sure if his fiancée did. So I started off with, "Sorry, I'll have to refuse. You know I don't sing anymore," in the interest of not totally ruining dinner. My brother was annoyed as heck at this. "Come on, it's for my wedding, it's just one song. I'm not asking for much here," and so forth. I continued to politely refuse, and left soon after. Shortly after, I started receiving countless calls from my mom, who also knows the reason why, and decided to harass me about not singing. "It's your brother's wedding. I think you really should see a therapist about this. We all love your singing voice, and it's been 10 years since any of us got to hear it." The two have since decided on a new tactic by saying that my song will be a good way to honor Mason's memory. The point about therapy aside, I've been to lots of it. I'm at peace with my decision to stop singing. Am I the a-hole for refusing? It's clearly important to them. Now for some comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. Your mom and brother should see a therapist. As usual, wedding planning turns some people into monsters. Telling him to see a therapist so that maybe he could resume doing something that brought him joy? Great idea. Doing so because you want something from him? Horrible idea. It's your voice and your choice. Your brother, mother, and more than likely your brother's fiancé know why you no longer sing. Just because it's a wedding doesn't mean you must revisit your trauma. Not the a-hole. Edit. Okay, y'all, this is overwhelming. Let me throw a few things in. 1. I don't know if my future sister-in-law is aware of the full situation or not. I'd like to think she doesn't, but I'd rather not poke that hornet's nest until I have to. 2. Yes, I have been to therapy. Singing is something I did with Mason, well before we started a full band. It very much feels like a part of my life that belongs in the past. As I said in the edit, my joy is not from singing, it's from performing with him. 3. Is that what Mason would have wanted? I don't know. He's not around to ask anymore. 4. The extended family is not blowing up my phone. It's 2 people, and it's not blowing it up. My mom called repeatedly in one day and has tried to throw it in a few times since. My brother is mostly giving me the cold shoulder. It's only been a few weeks since this conversation took place. 5. To whoever said, "It's been 10 years. You're not good enough to sing at a wedding?" Thank you. I genuinely laughed at this. It's a good point too. I'd probably sound like a donkey kicked me in the throat. Now for the first update a few days later. This is premature, but since the post I made was more popular than I expected or wanted, I thought I'd give a small update. Future sister-in-law reached out to me because her washer broke, and she wanted to come over and do a quick load of laundry. I wasn't thrilled about this, but I live close enough. I have in-unit laundry, and the laundromats in our area are not the safest. I was content to just watch TV silently in my tiny apartment while we waited. But she of course had something to discuss. I thought for sure she'd be the third person to try to convince me, but no. Instead, she told me that she wasn't sure if my brother was giving her the full story. She told me he used to sing all the time. He was in a band, but he quit when the band broke up. Which is technically true, but come on. I also learned that he had told many of his friends this too, about how he's always trying to convince me to come around and sing for all of them. He had literally never asked before the conversation, but was prone to making comments like, "Boy, it sure sucks you don't sing anymore. I know a lot of people that would want to hear that." So I very briefly told her about Mason, just the important bits. That I used to sing with him, then he died, so I don't have any desire to do so anymore. She didn't say anything for a while, but I saw her face go through about a dozen different emotions, and I'm pretty sure she settled on anger. Before she left, she just told me that she's going to tell my brother to get someone else to sing. I got the distinct feeling that it's not going to be a pleasant conversation. So that's it so far. All quiet. Fingers crossed. Go future sister-in-law. At least you have somebody in your corner. And sorry for your loss. Points to her for being able to pick up on this can't possibly be the full story and calmly going to the source. She's too good for her future husband. Your brother is a jerk. I hope she chews his butt out. At least now she understands. And hopefully going forward, she'll have your back and correct him when he says this crap to other people. Second update a month later. I cannot believe that this is still a thing, much less one that people are interested in. Lucky me though, because the overwhelming support I received here convinced me to do some things I definitely wouldn't have done otherwise. New things happen pretty quickly, but I held off on a new post because my last one was premature. Some things people predicted happened, other things did not. Let's get this out of the way up front. The wedding is still on. The wedding will always still be on. This was never in doubt. I think a lot of commenters vastly overestimated my importance. After talking with future sister-in-law, I did not hear anything from my brother, at least initially. I did eventually get a short text from her, just saying that I shouldn't worry about the wedding anymore and they'll find someone else. My mom was another story. She called me repeatedly since I ignored her first few calls, and when I finally picked up, she was about 2 steps below screaming into the phone about how I interfered in your brother's relationship and made things so much harder for them. And do you know how upset he is right now? It's time to put grudges aside and make amends. It was not an especially long conversation. I feel it is important to provide some context for my mom. I've seen some comments about how she has clear favoritism for my brother. Strictly speaking, I'm not sure that's true. Over the years, she said or did some things to my brother that have, at several points, caused him to go no contact with her. Some of these I fully understood. Others created some questions. As a result, my mom tends to overcompensate when it comes to him because I think she's terrified of getting cut off again. I did a lot of self-reflection over the next few days about my relationships with my family members and decided it was time to have a very honest conversation with my brother. I even booked a bonus therapy session specifically to prepare myself for this conversation. I called him up and asked him point blank if, knowing I will absolutely not be singing for him, he still wanted me to attend. He didn't answer for a bit, but eventually he said yes. I remembered a bunch of comments that said he may still try to pull something at his reception anyway, using public pressure and announcing me as the singer. While I personally didn't find that to be especially likely, my brother is a big planner and scheduler. I realized I no longer trusted him like I used to and said as much, and that I will only be attending the ceremony, not the reception. He had a minor freak out over this. "Are you freaking kidding me?" But then said it was whatever, and that I needed to come up with a concrete excuse for my absence so that BS doesn't overshadow everything. Fine, whatever, and that I could no longer be his groomsman since that would leave an empty chair at the head table. We hung up shortly after. We have not spoken again since. Something that hasn't come up before. We both have 2 other brothers, 35 and 26. Neither lives in the same area as us. My younger brother lives on the other side of the country, and we don't talk especially frequently. So I don't know what, if anything, they had heard about the situation previously. Well, because he kicked one of his brothers out of the wedding party, he decided to replace the other two as well because it wouldn't look right to have just 2 out of 3 of his brothers as groomsmen, so instead opted for 0 out of 3. Eldest brother got kind of bratty about it. He included all 3 of his brothers in his wedding party when he got married and is mainly mad about the non-reciprocation, but never asked for nor received the full story on our feud. I don't especially enjoy talking to him, so if he wants to blame me for getting booted from the wedding party, that's fine. My younger brother, on the other hand, made it his personal mission to extract every single detail possible from all parties. He called me up to get my side, and then decided he was going to join me in skipping the reception. He has decided to start brainstorming an excuse for the both of us. Honestly, I think he was looking for an excuse not to go anyway. He despises family functions. At this point, I am praying for no more updates. This is just freaking absurd. The wedding cannot come soon enough. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my brother money for rent after my mom shamed me for prioritizing my own family? I, 28 female, have 2 kids, 3 and 7, and a husband, 30 male. We're doing our best to stay on top of things financially, but it's hard. We both work full-time, and we're saving for the future, paying off debt, and just trying to make sure our kids have everything they need. The last few years have been a struggle, but we're getting there. A few hours ago, my brother, in his mid-20s, called me and asked me to lend him $4,500 for his rent because he's behind on payments. He's been struggling financially for a while now because of poor spending habits, and now he's in danger of being evicted. He said his life would fall apart if I didn't help. I told him I couldn't. We're not in a position to throw around that kind of money, especially since I have my own family to take care of. Plus, he's been asking for help like this for years, and I just don't think it's right to keep bailing him out. Later, my mom called me and really laid into me. She said I was being selfish and that family comes first. She told me I could always rebuild my savings later and that I should help my brother because he's in a crisis. She even said, "Don't you want to show your kids what family is supposed to be? That's the kind of example you should be setting." She accused me of choosing my own family over him and said I needed to grow up and be there for your brother when he needs you. Now she doesn't speak to me but is telling other relatives that I'm heartless and unsupportive. They themselves are calling me, telling me that she is calling around saying that my husband is fully on my side, but I feel like I'm being torn apart by the guilt from my mom and brother. Also, I'm sorry if this text is too long. I don't know, wanted to vent. You're taking care of your own family, which is your priority. You've helped your brother before, and it's unreasonable for him to keep asking for large sums of money when he's not making efforts to change his financial habits. Your mom's guilt trip is unfair, and you should not feel pressured into jeopardizing your family's well-being. It's important to set boundaries, and you made the right call by saying no. They really laid it on me. I feel so bad, and I want to be a good person, but I am in an impossible position, and them throwing it in my face is so vile. Not the a-hole. Props to you for not enabling your brother. This is kinda an issue I am dealing with at the moment with my wife, and she cannot say no. How do you guys handle that situation? I truly do not know how to handle this, even though I did say no to my brother. I think as adults we all make decisions that affect the outcome of the present and future. I don't tell my wife not to loan money, but I do tell her, what does this teach them? We have had instances she has loaned her sister money and she has not paid us back. We continue to have this conversation every time it happens, and in reality, if we continue to loan them money, we become enablers. Finally, this takes away from your family, especially your kids. Anyone who asks for money and isn't good for it can take a hike, family or not. Do not listen to your mom. She is an enabler as well, respectfully. She never helps him. She's pushing him onto me and tells me to take care of him because I am his big sister. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not apologizing to my parents for putting them through hell and making them feel guilty for divorcing? 10 years ago, my parents sat me, 17 female, and my brother, 19 male, down and told us they were getting a divorce. My brother was angry, and after calling them hypocrites and yelling for a minute, he withdrew. The hypocrite thing came because they could be very forceful when it came to building and keeping relationships. And more than once, they forced my brother to have play dates or attend the birthday parties of a kid who was mean to him and others. It used to annoy him, and he was miserable spending time with this kid. Our parents would say he had nobody, and my brother being nice would make him nice back, but it didn't. Our parents would insist you don't just give up on people in relationships, even though my brother and this kid didn't have one outside the pushing. But my brother found their stance hypocritical when they were divorcing. He's still withdrawn from them today. For me, the news made me break down, and I cried and begged them not to get divorced. The stuff I heard about divorce from my friends sounded awful to me, and I'd heard my friends cry over having to choose which parent they did something with, or not having one family and instead having two, and the never having one house thing. Most of my friends didn't like things being that way. I hated the idea of that happening to us, and I became pretty distraught. In the aftermath, I struggled to adjust to two houses. I got upset when my parents had other partners and missed being all together. When I asked, I was told divorced families don't do that, and I needed to get okay with two separate things for everything. I never settled into splitting my time between two houses. I still hated it, and a few months ago, I ended it by asking my grandparents if I could live with them, and they said yes. My parents didn't like it, but my relationship with both became really strained after they told me they were divorcing. I never felt supported by either, and they built up a lot of resentment toward me. That resentment started coming out once I moved out. My dad has 2 stepkids and my mom has 3. They both compared me to the stepkids who don't have a problem with 2 households or who don't ask to invite their other parent for stuff. My mom told me none of her husband's kids cried when they were told about their parents' divorce. Dad said his stepkids were happy about the divorce of their parents, that they were tired of an unhappy home. There are times they'll bring up, separately from each other, how I made them feel bad for wanting to be happy, and how I made a difficult thing more difficult when I got so hysterical. My mom accused me of making my brother's anger worse by being so upset, which made him fight them for me. She said I was a manipulative child who used tears to get her own way, and wasn't really upset, but just wanted to force them to stay together. My dad told me I was exhausting and so much hard work when he knew kids who had zero reaction to their parents' divorce. Then my mom asked me if I saw the divorce as a good thing, and I said no. She got so mad at me that my grandparents, who are her parents, made her leave. Then a week later, I got calls from both my mom and my dad within days of each other, saying I owed them an apology for putting them through hell when I was 7 and making them feel guilty for divorcing. My brother never got any of this. We talked about it, and he was just really angry at our parents for their behavior toward me and for blaming me when they did nothing to help. Am I the a-hole? Jesus Christ, you were 7 years old. Not the a-hole. They were crappy parents to begin with, and have only gotten worse. They forced their child to spend time with his bully? Why, God only knows. They have the right to divorce. They don't get to exclude the other parent. I know divorced people that organize birthdays, go to school events, even holidays together, so the kids can have both parents present for important events. They could have gotten you therapy to get used to 2 different houses. They never considered that moving on a weekly basis without any emotional support would be difficult for a 7-year-old? That having step-siblings take your space in both your parents' lives would be difficult without any reassurance? They are crappy parents, and the only way they can be able to live with themselves is by pretending, by putting the blame on someone else. Usually, it's the ex that becomes the scapegoat, not a 7-year-old. I would go no contact at the stroke of midnight on your 18th birthday. My parents told us that bullies are sometimes the saddest kids, and they need good friends the most. When my brother said he was never happy spending time with him, they told him it made the other kid happy deep down, and it should make him happy too. They also mentioned that sometimes we have to do things for other people, even if we're unhappy about it. He said at one time they really meant me and him had to do things to make other people happy, because our happiness didn't matter to them. Any of my friends with divorced parents either had one parent abandon them or they're still forced to pick between them. That became my experience in the most toxic way because both resent me deeply. It sucks. They never believed I should need support or help. My grandparents got me into therapy when I moved in with them, and my parents refused to pay. They said it was a waste of time and they never said I needed therapy, so why would they pay? My grandparents are still angry about that.